Hi, everyone. This is Anne Miranda. Let's read The Baker and the Rings by Anne Miranda and illustrated by Ilja Bereznickas.
All gone! All gone!
Cried the queen.
They're all gone!
The butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker heard the queen cry. They ran to see what was wrong. There was the queen in her ring room. All her gold rings were gone. The rings had almost filled the ring room before, but now it was empty. Where had they gone? The baker looked for a clue. She saw nothing in the ring room. Then she looked out the window. Look at the size of those footprints. The giant has been here, said the baker. Don't worry, said the candlestick maker. We'll get the rings back.
How?
Asked the queen.
If the giant has them, I'll never get them back.
Giants don't give up 1,000,000 gold rings without a good fight, said the butcher. He swung in the air at an imaginary giant and fell over. I know something about this giant, said the baker. He loves freshly baked raisin bread. I think he will trade the rings for raisin bread. Rings for bread? Sounds doubtful to me, said the candlestick maker. That must be some bread, said the butcher. It's worth a try, said the baker.
If you get my rings back, I'll make you a princess, said the queen.
It would be nice to be a princess, thought the baker. The baker rushed to her bakery. She mixed flour, milk, sugar, yeast, raisins, and her secret combination of spices. When the dough was ready, she pushed it and pulled it. Then she let it sit. She pulled and pushed it again. She let it sit again. Then she patted it into a pan and put it in the oven. The smell of baking bread drifted out the window. Soon she heard the thud, thud, thud of the giant's feet approaching the castle.
Fee, fi, fo, Fred. I smell the smell of baking bread,
said the giant.
Could I have some of that bread?
He asked the baker eagerly.
It smells great.
Only if you promise to give me back the queen's rings, replied the baker. The giant blushed.
How did you know I took them? He asked.
You left your big footprints outside the castle window, said the baker.
This is a fairy tale, isn't it? Giants are supposed to do stuff like that. According to standard fairy tale rules, giants take things and don't give them back.
The baker waved the freshly baked bread back and forth under the giant's nose.
That's some loaf of bread, said the giant. May I have it? Please.
You can have the bread, said the baker, but you can't have the bread and the rings. Sometimes we must make choices. If you want this bread, you must bring back the rings.
Oh, no,
said the giant.
The rings have much more value than the bread.
Does 1 ring for a loaf of bread sound fair to you? Asked the baker.
Oh, all right, said the giant.
Wonderful! Tomorrow you will have another loaf. Just double the payment.
Double?
Said the giant thoughtfully.
1 doubled is only 2. I think I can manage that.
Each day I will double the price of the bread, said the baker. The day after tomorrow, you will pay me 4 rings. The day after that, you will give me 8 rings. We'll do this for 20 days. How's that?
Well, 20 plus 20 is only 40. That's fine,
said the giant. Promise? The baker asked him. A promise is a promise according to standard fairy tale rules.
Yes, I promise, said the giant.
His mouth was watering as he turned to go. Hurry back before the bread gets cold, the baker called after him. The giant thundered off to his cave. He raced back holding a single sparkling gold ring. The baker took it from him and handed the giant his loaf of bread. He sat down and ate it in 1 bite. The next day, the baker made another giant-sized loaf of bread and put it in the oven. The smell of the baking bread filled the room and went out the open window. Soon the baker once more heard the thud, thud, thud of the giant approaching the castle.
Fee, fi, fo, Fred. I smell the smell of baking bread, he said. I want more.
You will get a loaf of bread if you have brought 2 rings, said the baker.
But I want it now, said the giant.
You must make a choice, said the baker. Do you want the bread or the rings?
That's some loaf of bread, he said as he handed over 2 rings.
The giant grabbed the bread and ate it in 1 big bite. Remember, tomorrow the bread will cost twice as much, said the baker. The giant laughed.
Only double? How foolish you are. I have lots of rings. I'll eat your bread forever.
Each day the giant came to the kitchen, and each day there was a delicious hot loaf of bread waiting for him. Each day the giant had to pay the baker double the number of rings he had paid the day before. The baker kept a chart of the number of rings the giant had to pay each day, and the total number he had paid. In 2 weeks, the number of rings the giant had to pay had reached a rather hefty amount. Because the giant loved the baker's bread so much, he always paid whatever the baker asked. On day 14, he paid the baker 8,192 rings. The next day, the amount doubled to 16,384. On day 16, the giant paid the baker 32,768 rings. On day 17, the number of rings he had to pay was 65,536. The giant needed a wheelbarrow to carry all the rings to the castle. The baker needed help to count the rings. The butcher and the candlestick maker were happy to help. On day 20, the giant thumped up to the castle. He was really mad.
You tricked me, said the giant to the baker. Once I had more than 1,000,000 rings. If I pay for my bread today, I won't have any more rings left. Give me back the rings.
Oh, no, said the baker. You promised.
Giants don't have to keep promises in fairy tales, he huffed. I will only keep my promise if you promise to bake bread for me every day.
I'll do it, said the baker quickly. The giant smiled.
Really? You're too smart to give in like this. Why would you make my bread for the rest of your life?
I like baking bread for you. You appreciate my work, the baker told him.
You really promise?
Asked the giant. Yes, said the baker. In a fairy tale, a promise is a promise.
Take the rings, yelled the giant.
The queen was thrilled to receive the last of her rings from the giant.
Congratulations, she said to the baker. You have recovered my rings. Now I will make you a princess. You have earned it.
With that, they all lived happily ever after. The queen had her rings. The giant had his bread. The baker still baked bread every day, even though she was a princess. In a fairy tale, a promise is a promise. If you enjoyed this reading of The Baker and the Rings, please take a minute to like and subscribe to our channel and visit our website at www.annemiranda.com. Until next time, happy reading!